The crystal chandeliers in Victoria Whitmore's penthouse apartment sparkled like 1,000 stars. They hung from the tall ceiling, casting soft golden light across the enormous living room. The room was bigger than most people's entire homes. White marble floors stretched in every direction. Expensive paintings covered the walls. And in the corner, near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, sat a piano. Not just any piano, a Steinway grand piano worth $300,000. It was black and shiny, so perfect it looked like it had never been touched. Victoria stood in the center of her living room, checking everything with sharp eyes. She was 52 years old, tall and thin, with blonde hair pulled back so tight it made her face look even more serious. She wore a long silver dress that probably cost more than a car. Diamond earrings hung from her ears. A diamond necklace sat on her chest. She had made her fortune in technology, building a company from nothing into a billion-dollar empire. Now she spent her time hosting charity events and appearing in magazines. Tonight was her annual charity gala, the biggest event of the year. Over 200 wealthy guests would arrive soon. They would drink expensive champagne, eat fancy food, and write big checks for her foundation. Victoria had been planning this night for months. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to go exactly right. Maria, Victoria called out, her voice echoing through the apartment. Where are the flowers for the entrance table? Maria Santos hurried into the room. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, with dark hair starting to show gray at the roots. She was 43 but looked older. Years of hard work had left lines on her face and roughness on her hands. She wore a simple black uniform with a white apron. Her shoes were old and worn. She had been Victoria's housekeeper for 12 years. The flowers are coming, Mrs. Whitmore, Maria said quietly, keeping her eyes down. The delivery man called. He will be here in 10 minutes. 10 minutes? Victoria frowned. The first guests arrive in 30 minutes. Everything should be ready now. Yes, Mrs. Whitmore, I am sorry. I will make sure everything is perfect. Maria turned to go back to the kitchen, but something caught Victoria's eye. Someone was sitting in the hallway that led to the service entrance. A teenage boy with messy black hair, wearing jeans and a wrinkled button-up shirt. He sat on the floor with his back against the wall, looking at his phone. Maria, Victoria said, her voice sharp. Why is there a child in my hallway? Maria's face went pale. That is my son, Mrs. Whitmore. Daniel. The babysitter got sick today. I had no one to watch him. I am very sorry. He will stay quiet. He will not bother anyone. Please, I needed to work today. Victoria stared at the boy for a long moment. She had seen him before, maybe once or twice over the years, but she never paid attention. The staff's families were not her concern. How old is he? 16, Mrs. Whitmore. Fine, he can stay. But keep him out of sight. I don't want guests seeing staff family members wandering around. Yes, Mrs. Whitmore, thank you. Maria practically ran back toward the kitchen, relief flooding her face. Victoria forgot about the boy immediately. She had more important things to think about. The event planner arrived with last-minute changes. The catering team needed instructions. Her assistant called with updates about which celebrities were coming. The next 30 minutes passed in a blur of activity. Then the guests started arriving. They came in expensive cars that pulled up to the building's entrance. Men in tuxedos, women in gowns that cost thousands of dollars, jewelry that sparkled under the lights. Everyone was rich. Everyone was important. They filled Victoria's penthouse with loud voices and fake laughter. They kissed each other on the cheek and said things like, "Darling, you look amazing," even when they didn't mean it. Victoria moved through the crowd like a queen. She smiled her practiced smile. She made small talk. She thanked people for coming. She reminded them to bid generously in the silent auction. This was her world. These were her people. She felt powerful here, important, in control. By 7:30, over 100 people filled the main living room. Waiters moved through the crowd with trays of champagne and appetizers. A string quartet played soft classical music in one corner, but nobody really listened. The noise of conversation drowned out everything else. Victoria stood near the piano talking to Robert Hammond, a Wall Street banker who always donated big money. He was telling her about his new yacht, and she pretended to care. Then she noticed something. The string quartet was taking a break. The room felt too loud, too chaotic without any music. She needed something to fill the silence, something to give the room a better atmosphere. Her eyes drifted to the service hallway. The boy was still there. Maria's son. He was still sitting against the wall, looking bored. An idea popped into Victoria's head. A spontaneous idea. She didn't think about it much. She just acted. "Excuse me, Robert," she said, touching the banker's arm. "I'll be right back." Victoria walked across the marble floor toward the hallway. Her high heels clicked with each step. She stopped in front of Daniel, looking down at him. He looked up surprised, his eyes wide. "You," Victoria said. "Can you play piano?" Daniel blinked. What? Piano, can you play it?" Simple question. I mean, a little bit. Why?" Victoria smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was the smile she used when she wanted something. "And the musicians are on break. I need some background music for my guests. Come play something." Daniel's face went white. "I don't think... I'm not really... I shouldn't... It's fine. Just play some simple songs. Nothing complicated. Just background music while people talk. Mrs. Whitmore, I really don't think I should..." "Are you refusing?" Victoria's voice got colder. "Your mother works for me. I'm asking you to do a simple favor. Play some music for 10 minutes. Is that too much to ask?" Daniel looked around desperately, searching for his mother, but Maria was somewhere in the kitchen. He was alone. He couldn't say no to this woman. She could fire his mother. His mother needed this job. Their whole life depended on it. "Okay," he said quietly, his voice barely a whisper. "I'll try." "Good." Victoria turned and walked back toward the living room, expecting him to follow. Daniel stood up slowly. His legs felt shaky. His heart pounded in his chest. He had never been so nervous in his entire life. He followed Victoria across the marble floor, feeling like everyone was staring at him even though nobody was. The wealthy guests kept talking and laughing, completely unaware that he existed. Victoria gestured toward the piano. "Sit, play, nothing too loud. Just background music." Daniel approached the piano like it might bite him. He had never seen anything so beautiful, so expensive, so perfect. He was afraid to touch it. His hands were sweating. He wiped them on his jeans. He sat down on the bench. The leather was soft and smooth. He looked at the keys. They were so white, so clean, perfectly maintained. This piano probably got tuned every month, maybe every week. Behind him, the room continued with its noise. Nobody was watching. Nobody cared. He was just the maid's son, asked to play some background music. Nothing important. Nothing anyone would remember. Daniel put his hands on the keys. They felt cool under his fingers. He took a deep breath. And then he started to play. The first notes came out soft and gentle. A simple melody. Beautiful but quiet. The kind of music that could blend into the background. That's what Victoria wanted, right? Background music. But then something changed. Daniel's fingers moved faster. The melody grew more complex. He wasn't thinking anymore. He was just playing the music that lived inside his head, the music he had been composing for months, the music he heard in his dreams. The piece started simple but built into something more, something powerful. The left hand played deep rolling chords. The right hand danced across the higher keys with a melody that seemed to float and fly. The music told a story without words, a story of struggle and hope, of pain and beauty, of dreaming impossible dreams. The room started to get quiet. One by one, the guests stopped talking. Conversations died mid-sentence. People turned toward the piano. Champagne glasses paused halfway to lips. Even the waiters stopped moving. Daniel played with his eyes closed. His whole body moved with the music. His fingers flew across the keys with incredible speed and precision. The notes came so fast they almost blurred together, but every single one was perfect. Every single one was exactly right. The music grew louder, more intense. It filled the entire penthouse. It surrounded everyone. Some people felt their eyes getting wet. Others felt chills running down their arms. A few people stood with their mouths open, frozen in shock. This wasn't background music. This wasn't some kid playing chopsticks. This was real music. Professional music. The kind of music you heard in concert halls. The kind of music that made you forget everything else. The piece built to a climax. Daniel's hands crashed down on the keys with thundering power. Then suddenly everything went soft again. Gentle. The melody came back, quieter now, sadder. His fingers slowed down. The final notes hung in the air like drops of water, pure and clear. Then silence. Complete silence. Daniel opened his eyes. He suddenly remembered where he was, what he had done. His heart jumped into his throat. He had gotten carried away. He was supposed to play background music, simple music, but he had played that. He turned slowly on the bench. Every single person in the room was staring at him. Over 100 wealthy people, all frozen in place, all looking at him with wide eyes. Some had tears on their cheeks. Others looked shocked, confused, unable to process what they had just heard. For a long moment, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Victoria started clapping. It wasn't enthusiastic clapping. It wasn't the kind of applause that shows you're impressed. It was polite clapping, the kind of clapping you do because you're supposed to, because it's the socially correct thing to do. Very nice, Victoria said, her voice flat. Thank you for that. The other guests joined in the applause. Some clapped harder than Victoria, their faces still showing shock. Others just followed her lead, clapping politely. Daniel stood up from the bench quickly, his face burning red. He wanted to disappear. He wanted to run. He had made a mistake. He shouldn't have played like that. He should have just played something simple like she asked. Victoria walked over to him, her heels clicking on the marble. She put her hand on his shoulder, steering him away from the piano. That was quite dramatic, she said. But I think something more upbeat would be better for the party. You know, something people can enjoy while they mingle. Maybe some jazz standards, Frank Sinatra songs, things people actually know. Daniel nodded, unable to speak. His throat felt tight. Actually, Victoria continued, I think the string quartet will be back from their break soon. You can go back to the hallway now. Thank you for filling in. You're welcome, Daniel managed to whisper. He walked back across the marble floor. Every step felt like a mile. Behind him, the conversation started up again. The noise returned. People went back to their champagne and their small talk. Within minutes, it was like nothing had happened. Daniel returned to his spot in the hallway. He sat down against the wall and put his face in his hands. His whole body was shaking. He felt embarrassed and confused. He had played the best he had ever played in his life. He had poured his heart out through that music, and Victoria had barely noticed. She had treated it like it was nothing, like he was nothing. In the kitchen, Maria heard from one of the waiters what had happened. She rushed out to find her son. When she saw him sitting in the hallway with his head down, her heart broke. Daniel, she said softly, sitting beside him. Are you okay? He looked up at her. His eyes were red. I messed up, Mom. She asked me to play background music and I played too much. I got carried away. I'm sorry. Maria put her arm around him. Shh, you did nothing wrong, nothing. She didn't even care. She didn't even care. I know, mijo. I know. They sat together in the hallway while the party continued. Neither of them knew that someone in that room had been paying very close attention. Someone who understood exactly what they had witnessed. Someone who knew that what they had just heard wasn't just good piano playing. It was genius. But that person stayed quiet for now, watching, thinking, making plans. Because sometimes the most important moments in life happen when nobody seems to be paying attention. Sometimes the whole world changes in the space between one note and the next. And Daniel's world was about to change forever. The party went on for 3 more hours. Daniel stayed in the hallway the whole time, trying to stay invisible. He could hear the voices, the laughter, the clinking of glasses. Every now and then, a waiter would rush past him carrying empty plates or fresh champagne bottles. Nobody spoke to him. Nobody even looked at him. It was like he didn't exist. Maria came to check on him several times between her tasks. She brought him a plate of fancy appetizers that she had saved from the party. Small pieces of salmon on crackers, little pastries filled with cheese, things they could never afford to buy. Daniel tried to eat, but his stomach felt tight. He kept thinking about the piano, about Victoria's cold response, about how stupid he felt. Finally, around 11 o'clock, the guests started leaving. Daniel could hear them saying goodbye, thanking Victoria for a wonderful evening, promising to donate more money. Their voices got quieter as they left one by one. By midnight, the apartment was almost empty. Only a few people remained helping clean up. Maria was in the kitchen, washing dishes and packing away leftover food. Daniel still sat in the hallway, half asleep, his head resting against the wall. Excuse me? Daniel's eyes snapped open. An old man stood in front of him. He was Asian, maybe in his 70s, with white hair and kind eyes behind gold-rimmed glasses. He wore an expensive tuxedo but had loosened his bow tie. He carried a champagne glass in one hand. Yes? Daniel said, sitting up straight. I'm Marcus Chen, the old man said. He had a gentle voice with a slight accent. I was at the party tonight. I heard you play. Daniel's face went red. Oh, sorry about that. I know it was probably too much. Too much? Marcus's eyes went wide. Young man, that was the most extraordinary thing I've heard in years. What's your name? Daniel. Daniel Santos. Daniel. Marcus said the name slowly, like he was tasting it. How long have you been studying piano? I haven't. Not really. Marcus tilted his head. What do you mean? You must study somewhere. Juilliard? Manhattan School of Music? A private teacher? No, sir. I taught myself. The old man stared at him. For a long moment he didn't say anything. His face showed complete shock. You taught yourself. That piece you played tonight? The original composition with the complexity of Rachmaninoff. You taught yourself? I didn't know it was that complicated. I hear music in my head sometimes. And I play it. Marcus sat down on the floor next to Daniel. He moved slowly, his old knees cracking as he lowered himself. Up close, Daniel could see his hands. They were wrinkled but elegant. The hands of someone who had spent a lifetime playing music. Daniel, Marcus said carefully, I need you to understand something. I taught at Juilliard for 40 years. I've heard thousands of pianists. Some of them were very good. A few of them were great. But what you played tonight, that wasn't just great. That was something else. Something rare. I don't understand. You're a prodigy. A natural talent. The kind of musician that comes along maybe once in a generation. Marcus's hands were shaking slightly. The technique, the emotional depth, the complexity of the composition. Daniel, most pianists spend their entire lives trying to achieve what you did tonight. And you say you taught yourself? Daniel nodded slowly. He felt confused, overwhelmed. This old man was saying things that didn't make sense. How could he be special? He was just a kid who liked playing piano. Where's your mother? Marcus asked. She's in the kitchen. She works here. She's Mrs. Whitmore's housekeeper. May I speak with her? I guess so. They both stood up. Daniel led Marcus to the kitchen. Maria was putting dishes away in the cupboards. When she saw the old man in the tuxedo, she immediately looked worried. Rich people usually meant trouble for people like her. Maria Santos? Marcus asked gently. Yes, sir. Is something wrong? Wrong? No. Quite the opposite. Marcus smiled. I wanted to talk to you about your son. Maria's face went pale. He didn't do anything wrong, sir. If his music was too loud or if he bothered anyone, I'm very sorry. It won't happen again. Mrs. Santos, please. You don't understand. Your son is incredibly gifted. What he played tonight, it was remarkable. Extraordinary. He tells me he taught himself. Maria looked at Daniel, then back at Marcus. Her eyes filled with tears. Yes, sir. He's been playing since he was little. On a keyboard. A cheap one. He watches videos on his phone to learn. A keyboard, Marcus repeated, his voice barely a whisper. Not even a real piano. We can't afford a real piano, sir. We can barely afford the keyboard. Marcus sat down in one of the kitchen chairs. He looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. Mrs. Santos, do you understand what your son has? Do you know what he could become? Maria wiped her eyes with her apron. I know he's good at music. I know he loves it. But, sir, we're poor people. Music is for rich kids who go to special schools. Not for us, and that's not true. It shouldn't be true. Marcus took off his glasses and cleaned them with his handkerchief. Mrs. Santos, I taught at Juilliard for 40 years. I've trained some of the best pianists in the world. And I'm telling you, your son has something special. Something that can't be taught. Most of my students had talent, yes, but they also had years of expensive lessons, private teachers, the best instruments. Your son has none of that, and yet he plays like he's been training at a conservatory his whole life. Daniel stood near the doorway, listening. He felt strange, like they were talking about someone else, not him. I want to help him, Marcus said. I want to evaluate his abilities properly. I want to see what he can really do with proper guidance, Maria shook her head. Sir, that's very kind, but we can't afford... I'm not asking for money. I'm offering to help for free, because talent like this, it's a gift, and it would be a crime to waste it. Maria looked at her son. Daniel looked back at her. They both knew what she was thinking. This sounded too good to be true. People didn't just help people like them for free. There was always a catch, always a price. Why? Maria asked. Why would you do this for us? You don't know us. Marcus smiled sadly. Because when I was young, I was poor too. My family came to America from China with nothing. I was lucky. Someone helped me. A teacher who saw something in me and gave me a chance. I've spent my whole life trying to pay that forward. And tonight when I heard your son play, I knew I had found someone worth helping. Maria started crying. Real crying. Her shoulders shook. She covered her face with her hands. All the stress and worry and exhaustion of the past 12 years came pouring out. Daniel rushed to her side, putting his arm around her. Mom, don't cry. It's okay. I'm sorry, Maria said through her tears. I'm sorry. It's just, I've been trying so hard, working so hard, trying to save money for lessons for you, but it's never enough. There's always bills, always rent, always something, and I see you playing on that little keyboard, and I know you could be so much more, but I can't give it to you. I can't give you what you deserve. Daniel hugged his mother tight. You give me everything, Mom. Everything that matters. Marcus waited quietly until Maria had calmed down. Then he spoke again, his voice gentle. Mrs. Santos, may I ask Daniel some questions? I want to understand his background better. Maria nodded, wiping her eyes. Marcus turned to Daniel. How did you start learning piano? Daniel shrugged. When I was 8, I heard someone playing piano in a store. It sounded beautiful. I wanted to learn. Mom couldn't afford lessons, so she bought me a cheap keyboard from a pawn shop. $25. Half the keys didn't work, but it was enough. And you learned from the internet? Yeah, YouTube videos mostly. I'd watch them over and over, slow them down, pause them, try to copy what I saw. What about music theory? Reading sheet music? I learned some from videos, but mostly I don't know. I hear music in my head and figure out how to play it. Marcus leaned forward. The piece you played tonight? You composed that? Yes, sir. I write music in notebooks, during my breaks at work, or late at night when I can't sleep. You work? At a grocery store. 4 nights a week. After school. And you still find time to practice? Every day. At least 2 hours. Sometimes more. I practice on my keyboard with headphones so I don't bother Mom when she's sleeping. Marcus shook his head slowly. Unbelievable. Daniel. Most serious piano students practice 4 to 6 hours a day on proper instruments. They have teachers correcting their mistakes. They have access to music libraries, concert halls, master classes. And you're doing all of this alone, on a cheap keyboard, squeezing practice time between school and work. Is that bad? Bad, no, Daniel. It's incredible. It shows dedication that most professional musicians don't have, but it also shows how much you're being held back. Imagine what you could do with proper training. With a real piano, with time to focus on music instead of working at a grocery store. Maria spoke up, her voice worried. Sir, I appreciate what you're saying, but Daniel needs to be practical. Music is a dream, but dreams don't pay bills. He needs to finish high school, maybe go to community college, get a real job. Music can be a hobby. A hobby? Marcus looked shocked. Mrs. Santos, with all respect, your son's talent is not a hobby. It's a gift, and gifts like this don't come along often. If Daniel gets proper training, he could have a real career. Concert performances, recording contracts, teaching positions. Music doesn't have to be just a dream. It can be a life. But how? Maria asked. Everything costs money we don't have. Special schools cost thousands of dollars. Private lessons cost hundreds per hour. Even if you help us, how can we afford the rest? There are scholarships, programs for talented students, competitions with prize money. I have connections, people who might be willing to help. But first I need to document Daniel's abilities. I need to show people what he can do. How would you do that? Let me work with him for a few weeks. Evaluate his skills properly. Record him playing. Then I can approach schools and programs with evidence. A video of tonight's performance would help, but I need more than one piece. Daniel had been quiet, listening to everything. Now he spoke up. Mr. Chen, I don't understand. Why is everyone making such a big deal? I just played piano. Lots of people play piano. Marcus turned to him with serious eyes. Daniel, let me explain something. True musical genius is rare, very rare. Most professional musicians are skilled technicians. They're good at their craft. They've practiced for thousands of hours. They can play difficult pieces with accuracy. But that's not genius. Genius is when someone can take all that technical skill and add something more, something emotional, something that touches people's souls. What you played tonight, I saw grown men crying. I saw people frozen in place. They weren't listening to a kid playing piano. They were experiencing art, real art. Do you understand the difference? Daniel thought about it. I guess so. I just play what I feel. Exactly. You play what you feel. Most pianists spend years learning to do that, and many never learn at all. You already have it. Naturally, that's what makes you special. The kitchen was quiet for a moment. A clock on the wall ticked. Somewhere in the apartment, a door closed. The party was over. Everyone had gone home. Except Marcus. I need to ask you both something important, Marcus said. Mrs. Santos, do you trust me? Maria looked at him carefully. She had learned to be cautious. Rich people, even nice ones, usually wanted something. But when she looked into Marcus's eyes, she saw something real. Something honest. I think so, she said quietly. And Daniel, do you want this? Do you want to pursue music seriously? It won't be easy. It will be harder than anything you've ever done. Hours of practice, constant criticism, rejection, competition with kids who've had every advantage you haven't had. You'll have to work twice as hard as them just to catch up. Are you willing to do that? Daniel didn't hesitate. Yes. Why? Because music is the only thing that makes sense to me. When I play, I feel like myself. Like I'm where I'm supposed to be. I don't care if it's hard. I want to do it. Marcus smiled. It was the first real smile he'd shown all night. Good answer. That's the answer of a true musician. He stood up from the chair, his old bones cracking again. He reached into his tuxedo pocket and pulled out a business card. He handed it to Maria. This is my contact information. Call me tomorrow. We'll set up a time for Daniel to come to my home. I have a proper piano there. We'll start working together. And Mrs. Santos, I meant what I said. No payment. This is my gift to your son. Maria took the card with shaking hands. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. Thank me when Daniel is performing at Carnegie Hall. Marcus winked at Daniel. That's where we're headed, young man. Carnegie Hall. Believe it. After Marcus left, Maria and Daniel finished cleaning up the kitchen. They worked in silence, both lost in thought. It was after 1 a.m. when they finally left Victoria's building. They walked to the subway station together, their feet tired. On the train ride home to their small apartment in Queens, Maria held Daniel's hand like she used to when he was little. Are you scared? She asked. A little bit, but also excited. Me too. They got home at 2 a.m. Their apartment was tiny. 1 bedroom for Maria, 1 small room for Daniel. A cramped kitchen, a bathroom with old pipes that made noise. Compared to Victoria's penthouse, it was nothing. But it was home. Daniel went to his room and looked at his keyboard. The cheap one with the broken keys. The one he'd learned everything on. He touched the keys gently. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, he would start a new journey. He didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. His mind was too full of music, of possibilities, of dreams that maybe, just maybe, might come true. In another part of the city, Victoria Whitmore slept in her king-sized bed in her enormous penthouse. She dreamed about the success of her party, the money raised, the important people who attended. She had already forgotten about the teenage boy who played her piano. She had no idea that boy was about to change everything. Daniel woke up at noon the next day. It was Saturday, so no school. For a moment, he forgot everything that had happened. Then it all came rushing back. The party, the piano, Marcus Chen. He grabbed his phone from the nightstand to text his best friend about the crazy night he'd had, but his phone was blowing up. 37 missed calls, over 200 text messages. His social media notifications were going insane. The numbers kept climbing even as he watched. What the hell? Daniel muttered, sitting up in bed. He opened his messages. They were from everyone. Friends from school, people he barely knew, even numbers he didn't recognize. The messages all said similar things. Dude, is this you? OMG, you're famous. Why didn't you tell us you could play piano like that? Everyone is talking about you. Daniel's hands started shaking. He opened Instagram. The first thing he saw was a video of him, playing piano at Victoria's party. The caption read, Billionaire's Maid's son plays piano at charity event. Pure talent hidden in plain sight. The video had 2 million views. 2 million. Daniel's heart started pounding. He clicked on the video with trembling fingers. It was the whole performance. Someone had filmed it. The video showed him sitting at the expensive piano, playing his composition. You could see his face, his hands, the way his whole body moved with the music. You could hear the room going silent. You could see people's shocked faces in the background. The comment section was exploding. This kid is incredible. Why isn't he at Juilliard? I'm a professional pianist and this gave me chills. Someone needs to find this kid and get him proper training. The way the billionaire just walks away at the end. She has no idea what she just witnessed. This is what real talent looks like. Raw, unpolished, beautiful. Daniel kept scrolling. The video had been shared thousands of times. Music blogs were writing about it. Classical music forums were discussing it. People were trying to figure out who he was. Someone knocked on his bedroom door. "Daniel, are you awake?" It was his mother. "Yeah, come in." Maria opened the door. She held her phone in her hand. Her face looked worried. "Have you seen it? The video?" "Yeah, Mom, what's happening?" "I don't know. Someone at the party must have filmed you. It's everywhere. People have been calling me all morning. Reporters, journalists, they want to interview you. They want to know your story." "Reporters?" Daniel felt sick. "Why?" "Because it's a good story, mijo. Poor kid with incredible talent. Rich billionaire who doesn't care. People love stories like that." Daniel got out of bed. He was still wearing his wrinkled clothes from last night. "What do we do?" "I don't know. I called Mr. Chen. He said to stay calm. Don't talk to any reporters yet. Let him help us figure this out." But staying calm was impossible. Over the next 2 hours, things got crazier. The video hit 5 million views. News websites picked up the story. Local TV stations sent reporters to their apartment building. Maria had to keep the curtains closed because cameras were outside. Daniel's phone wouldn't stop ringing. He turned it off, but that didn't help the sick feeling in his stomach. This wasn't what he wanted. He just wanted to play music. He didn't want to be famous. He didn't want reporters asking questions. Around 2 o'clock, Marcus Chen called Maria's phone. She put him on speaker so Daniel could hear. "How are you both holding up?" Marcus asked. "Not great," Maria admitted. "There are reporters outside our building." "I know. I saw the news coverage. This is bigger than I expected. The video has gone viral. That means millions of people have seen it. And they're not just casual viewers. Music professionals are paying attention. Conductors, teachers, managers. This could actually be good for Daniel's future." "It doesn't feel good," Daniel said. "It feels scary. I understand. But try to see the positive side. Last night, only a few hundred people heard you play. Now millions have heard you. Opportunities will come from this. Scholarships, auditions, connections, things that normally take years to build." Maria spoke up. "Mr. Chen, what should we do? Should we talk to the reporters?" "Not yet. First, we need to be smart about this. I've already made some calls. I have a friend who works in artist management. She's willing to help us navigate this. But in the meantime, don't say anything publicly. Don't do any interviews. Let the video speak for itself." "Okay, we can do that." "Good. I'll call you back this evening with a plan. Try to stay calm. Everything will be okay." After Marcus hung up, Maria and Daniel sat in their small living room. They could hear the reporters outside talking to neighbors, trying to get information. It felt like their privacy was being stolen. "I'm sorry, Mom," Daniel said quietly. "I didn't mean for this to happen. This isn't your fault. You just played piano. You didn't ask for any of this. Mrs. Whitmore is going to be so mad." Maria's face went hard. "Let her be mad. You did nothing wrong." But Victoria Whitmore was more than mad. She was furious. Her phone had been ringing since early morning. Friends calling to tell her about the video. Her publicist calling in a panic. Board members of her foundation asking what was going on. And worst of all, reporters calling, asking for comments about the hidden genius at her party. Victoria sat in her home office watching the video on her computer for the 5th time. She watched herself walking up to the piano at the end. Watched herself giving that polite, dismissive smile. Watched herself asking Daniel to play something more upbeat. It looked bad. Really bad. The internet had decided on a narrative. Rich billionaire asks poor Maid's son to perform. Poor kid plays like a master. Rich billionaire barely notices and walks away. It was a story about class, about privilege, about the wealthy ignoring the talented poor, and Victoria was the villain. Their comments about her were brutal. She couldn't even appreciate what she was hearing. This is why rich people are out of touch. She's more interested in her champagne than real talent. Someone give that kid a scholarship and fire that woman's cold heart. Victoria's publicist, Amanda, sat across from her desk. Amanda was 35, sharp and very good at fixing problems. But even she looked stressed. "This is a PR nightmare," Amanda said. "The video has 10 million views now. It's trending on Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere, and the narrative is not in your favor." "I didn't do anything wrong," Victoria said coldly. "I let the boy play. I thanked him. What else was I supposed to do?" "The optics are bad, Victoria. It looks like you dismissed him, like you didn't care about his talent. People are making this about class inequality, about the rich exploiting the poor. Your foundation is supposed to help young people pursue their dreams, and here you are, seemingly ignoring a talented kid right under your nose. That's not fair. I didn't know he was talented. He's the housekeeper's son. How was I supposed to know?" Amanda sighed. "That's exactly the problem. You didn't ask. You didn't care to find out. You just saw him as the helps kid, and now the whole world is seeing that." Victoria felt her anger rising. "So what do you suggest? Should I apologize? Should I pretend I did something wrong? I suggest we get ahead of this. Make a statement. Say something positive about Daniel. Maybe offer to help him. Set up a scholarship. Something that makes you look generous instead of cold. I'm not going to be bullied into helping some kid just because a video went viral." "Victoria." Amanda's voice got serious. "This isn't about being bullied. This is about your reputation, your foundation, your brand. Right now, you look bad. We need to fix that. Fast." Victoria stared at her computer screen, at the millions of views, at the thousands of comments tearing her apart. She had built her career on being smart, on being strategic. She knew Amanda was right, but it still made her angry. "Fine," she said finally. "Draft a statement. Something about how impressed I was with Daniel's talent, how I wish him well in his future. But I'm not offering money. I'm not setting up a scholarship. I'm not getting involved beyond a polite statement." Amanda nodded. "I'll send you a draft within an hour." After Amanda left, Victoria sat alone in her office. She felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt out of control. The story was being written without her input. People were deciding who she was based on a 30-second interaction, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. By Sunday morning, things got even worse. Major news outlets were running the story. Good Morning America mentioned it. Entertainment Tonight. Even international news sites were picking it up. The video hit 20 million views. Music professionals started weighing in. A famous conductor tweeted, "This young man has something special. Someone please get him into a proper conservatory." A renowned pianist posted, "I've watched this video 10 times. The technique is raw, but the musicality is extraordinary. This is what natural talent looks like." Job offers started coming in. A music manager wanted to represent Daniel. A recording studio offered to produce an album. 3 different conservatories reached out to Maria's phone, asking if Daniel would be interested in auditioning. It was overwhelming. Maria didn't know who to trust. Every call seemed to promise something amazing, but she remembered her mother's advice. When something seems too good to be true, it usually is. Marcus Chen came to their apartment Sunday afternoon. He brought his friend from artist management, a woman named Catherine Park. Catherine was 42, Korean-American, elegant, and professional. She had managed several successful classical musicians. They sat in Maria's tiny living room. Daniel made tea for everyone, his hands still shaking with nerves. "First, let me say congratulations," Catherine said. "What's happening to you is incredibly rare. Most musicians spend years trying to get this kind of attention. You've gotten it in 48 hours. "I don't want attention," Daniel said quietly. "I just want to play music," Catherine smiled. "I know, that's actually a good sign. The ones who are only in it for fame usually burn out fast. But Daniel, attention is currency in the music world, and right now you have a lot of it. We need to use it wisely." "How?" Maria asked. "First, we need to protect you. I've been fielding calls all day. Managers, agents, labels. Some of them are legitimate. Many are not. They see a viral star and they want a piece. But you need representation you can trust. That's where I come in. Marcus asked me to help and I'm willing to do it. No payment for now. Just guidance. Why would you do that? Maria asked suspiciously. Catherine's face became serious. Because I was Daniel once. Not exactly the same situation, but close enough. I grew up poor. Korean immigrant family. My parents worked in a nail salon. I taught myself piano by sneaking into the church after school to practice. Someone helped me when I needed it. A teacher who saw something in me. I got lucky. I got out. Now I help others do the same. That's my reason. Maria relaxed a little bit. Okay, what do we need to do?
First, we need to control the narrative.
Right now, the story is being told by strangers on the internet. We need to tell your story. The right way. I'm arranging an interview with a reputable music journalist. Someone who will treat you fairly. We'll explain your background, your talent, your dreams. Show people who you really are. Okay, Daniel said. Second, we need to capitalize on this momentum. Several conservatories have reached out. That's good. But we need to vet them carefully. Some might be offering opportunities just for publicity. We want genuine programs that will actually help your development. Marcus spoke up. I've already started that process. I've contacted 3 schools I trust. Berkeley, Manhattan School of Music, and Curtis Institute. All 3 have programs for talented students from low-income backgrounds. All 3 have expressed interest in hearing more about Daniel. Those are good schools, Catherine said. But here's the reality. The application process takes time. Most deadlines have passed for this year. Scholarship committees meet quarterly. Auditions are scheduled months in advance. Even with all this attention, getting into a top program quickly won't be easy. How long are we talking? Maria asked. Best case? 6 months. Worst case? Over a year. Daniel's face fell. A year? Maybe less. Your viral fame helps. But these institutions have processes, rules. They can't just accept you because a video went viral. You'll need to audition, submit applications, provide transcripts, letters of recommendation. It's bureaucratic and slow. So what do I do until then? Daniel asked. You practice, Marcus said firmly. You work with me. I'll train you properly. We'll prepare you for auditions. We'll record more pieces. Build a portfolio. When the opportunities come, you'll be ready. They talked for another hour. Catherine explained contracts, agents, the music industry. It was a lot of information. Daniel's head spun. This was so much more complicated than just playing piano. Before they left, Catherine turned to Maria. Mrs. Santos, I need to warn you about something. Victoria Whitmore released a statement this morning. Maria's face went hard. What did she say? Catherine pulled out her phone and read. I was delighted to see Daniel's performance receive such attention. He is clearly a talented young man, and I wish him all the best in his musical pursuits. I'm proud that my annual charity gala provided a platform for his talent to be discovered. The room went quiet. She's taking credit, Daniel said, his voice angry. She's making it sound like she helped me. Yes, Catherine said. That's exactly what she's doing. Classic PR move. Can't beat the story, so join it. Make herself look good. Can we say something? Maria asked. Can we tell people the truth? We could, but I'd advise against it. Right now, you're the underdog, the sympathetic figure. If you attack Victoria publicly, some people might see it as ungrateful or opportunistic. Better to stay classy. Keep the focus on Daniel's talent, not on drama with Victoria. That doesn't seem fair. It's not fair, but it's smart. Trust me on this. After Catherine and Marcus left, Maria and Daniel sat on their worn couch. Outside, the reporters had finally gone. But the story was far from over. It was just beginning. Are you okay, mijo? Maria asked. Daniel shrugged. I don't know. Everything changed so fast. 2 days ago, I was nobody. Now millions of people know my name. It's weird. Scary. Yeah, but also kind of exciting, maybe. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel. Maria put her arm around him. However you feel is okay. This is a lot for anyone, especially a 16-year-old. Do you think we can trust Catherine and Mr. Chen? I think so. They seem genuine, but we'll be careful. We'll watch and make sure. Daniel leaned against his mother. What if I'm not as good as everyone thinks? What if the video made me look better than I really am? Then you'll practice and get better. That's all you can do. Work hard, stay humble. Remember why you play music. Why do I play music? Maria smiled. You tell me. Daniel thought about it. Because it's the only time I feel free. Like nothing else matters, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Then hold on to that. Don't let fame or attention change that. Play for yourself. Everything else is just noise. They sat together in the quiet apartment. In the silence, Daniel could almost hear music. A new composition forming in his mind. Something about change. About fear and hope mixed together. About dreams coming true in unexpected ways. He didn't know what would happen. 3 weeks had passed since the video went viral. Daniel's life had turned completely upside down. He could barely walk down the street without people recognizing him. Kids at school treated him differently. Some were supportive. Others were jealous. His phone still got messages from strangers every day, but the initial excitement was fading. Reality was setting in. Daniel sat in Marcus Chen's apartment on the Upper West Side. It was a beautiful place, filled with books and music. A Steinway grand piano sat in the living room, much nicer than the one at Victoria's party. For the past 3 weeks, Daniel had been coming here every day after school. Marcus was teaching him properly. Music theory, technique, history, all the things he had missed by teaching himself. Marcus sat next to him on the piano bench, watching his hands. Again, Marcus said gently. But this time, curve your fingers more. Like you're holding an egg. Daniel tried again. He played a scale, focusing on his finger position. It felt awkward, unnatural. He had been playing his own way for so long that proper technique felt wrong. Better, Marcus said. But you're still tensing your shoulders. Relax. Music should flow from your whole body, not just your hands. They worked for 2 more hours. Scales, arpeggios, technical exercises. It was boring compared to playing real music, but Marcus insisted it was necessary. You have incredible natural talent, he explained. But natural talent can only take you so far. To compete at the highest levels, you need technical perfection. After practice, Marcus made them tea. They sat in his kitchen, tired but satisfied. I have news, Marcus said. I've been making calls to conservatories. I spoke with the dean of admissions at Curtis Institute yesterday. Daniel's eyes lit up. Really? What did she say? Marcus's face became serious. She was impressed by the video. She said you clearly have raw talent, but what? She said Curtis has very specific requirements. You need to have completed at least 8 years of formal piano study. You need to submit recordings of specific pieces from their required repertoire. You need letters of recommendation from recognized music teachers. And even if you meet all those requirements, the acceptance rate is less than 4%. Daniel's excitement died. I don't have any of that. I know. I explained your situation, your background, your self-taught status. She was sympathetic but firm. The rules exist for a reason. They can't make exceptions even for viral sensations. So I can't apply? Not to Curtis. Not right now. I've gotten similar responses from Manhattan School of Music and Juilliard. They all want to see more. They want evidence of sustained excellence, not just one viral performance. They want to know you can handle the academic rigor, the competition, the pressure. Daniel put his head in his hands, so the video didn't help at all. I didn't say that. The video opened doors. It got their attention. But attention isn't admission. We need to build a real portfolio. Record multiple pieces. Get you performing at competitions. Build a track record that proves you're not just a one-time wonder. How long will that take? At least a year. Maybe 2. Daniel felt crushed. 2 years felt like forever. He had thought the viral video would change everything instantly. He had thought opportunities would just appear. But the reality was much harder. Marcus saw the disappointment on his face. Daniel, I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. But classical music is a marathon, not a sprint. The students who get into top conservatories have been training since they were 5 years old. They've had private teachers, attended specialized music schools, performed in youth orchestras. You're starting late. You're catching up. It's not fair, but it's reality. So what do? You keep working. You practice. You learn. And you trust that the right opportunity will come when you're ready. Daniel nodded, but inside he felt hollow. He had been so hopeful, so excited. Now he just felt tired. The next morning, Maria got a phone call at work. She was cleaning one of Victoria's guest bathrooms when her phone buzzed. She saw it was from an unknown number and almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Hello, Mrs. Santos? This is Jennifer Mills from Whitmore Foundation Legal Department. Maria's blood ran cold. Victoria's lawyers. This couldn't be good. Yes, this is Maria Santos. Mrs. Santos, I'm calling regarding the video of your son that has been circulating online. The video was filmed at a private event at Mrs. Whitmore's residence without permission. Additionally, the video shows Mrs. Whitmore's home and personal property, including a piano valued at over $300,000. Mrs. Whitmore feels this constitutes an invasion of privacy and unauthorized use of her image and property. Maria couldn't breathe. My son didn't film it. We didn't post it. Someone at the party did. Regardless of who filmed it, your son was the subject. The video has been monetized by several media outlets. Mrs. Whitmore believes she's entitled to compensation for the unauthorized commercial use of her property and event. What does that mean? It means Mrs. Whitmore is considering legal action. However, she's willing to forgo that if you and your son sign a cease and desist agreement. The agreement would prevent you from making any public statements about Mrs. Whitmore, her home, or the event. You would also need to request that all social media platforms remove the video. Maria felt sick. But we didn't do anything wrong. That's not for me to determine. I'm simply informing you of Mrs. Whitmore's position. You'll receive the formal paperwork by mail within 3 days. I suggest you consult with a lawyer. The call ended. Maria stood in the bathroom holding her phone, shaking. A lawyer. They needed a lawyer. But lawyers cost money they didn't have. She called Catherine Park immediately. Catherine was furious when she heard the news. That's ridiculous. They have no case. The video was filmed at a semi-public event. Your son performed publicly. There's no invasion of privacy. Victoria's just trying to intimidate you. Can they sue us? They can try. But they won't win. This is just a scare tactic. She's angry about the bad publicity and trying to silence you. What should we do? Don't sign anything. I'll connect you with an entertainment lawyer I know. He might take the case pro bono given the publicity. In the meantime, don't worry. Victoria is bluffing, but Maria did worry. She worried all day. That evening, she came home exhausted and stressed. Daniel knew immediately something was wrong. Mom, what happened? Maria told him everything. About the phone call, the threatened lawsuit, the cease and desist. Daniel listened, his anger growing with every word. She's trying to shut us up, Daniel said. She's trying to make it all go away because she looks bad. I know, this isn't fair. We didn't ask for any of this. I just played piano. Life isn't fair, mijo. Rich people play by different rules. Daniel paced around their small living room. I hate this. I hate that she has so much power over us. You could lose your job. We could get sued. All because I played piano at her stupid party. Don't say that. You playing piano was beautiful. The best thing you've ever done. Don't let her take that away from you. But damage was done. The joy Daniel had felt was being crushed under the weight of reality. Being poor meant being powerless. It meant rich people could threaten you and there was nothing you could do about it. The next week was horrible. The cease and desist papers arrived. Catherine's lawyer friend reviewed them and confirmed they were baseless. But fighting them would still cost time and stress. Maria was terrified Victoria would fire her. They couldn't afford to lose that income. Daniel tried to focus on practice, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. Marcus noticed the change. You're distracted today, Marcus said during a lesson. What's wrong? Daniel told him about Victoria's legal threats. Marcus's face became hard. That woman, he said quietly. She has no idea what she's doing. She's so worried about protecting her image that she's willing to crush a talented kid. It's disgusting. There's nothing we can do, Daniel said. She has money and lawyers. We have nothing. You have talent. That's worth more than money. Talent doesn't pay legal bills. Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said, let me make some calls. I know people. People who might be able to help. What kind of people? The good kind. The kind who believe in fighting for what's right. That evening, Marcus called several of his former students. One of them was Catherine Park. Wait, not that Catherine. A different Catherine Park, the concert pianist. She was one of Marcus's most successful former students. Korean-American, 40 years old, beautiful and talented. She performed with major orchestras around the world. She had recording contracts, endorsement deals, and millions of fans. She was also someone who had grown up poor and fought her way to the top. Marcus called her and explained Daniel's situation. Catherine listened carefully. Send me the video, she said. Marcus sent her the link. Catherine watched it 3 times. Then she called Marcus back. That kid is special, she said. Really special. And you're telling me some billionaire is trying to legally bully him into silence? Exactly. That's not happening. Not while I can do something about it. What are you thinking? I'm thinking I'm going to help. Publicly. I have 2 million followers on social media. I have connections in the classical music world. I have resources. And I have a platform. Let me use them. Catherine, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Remember when I was 18? Remember when I almost gave up because I couldn't afford to continue my training? You helped me. You and 3 other teachers pooled your money to pay for my conservatory tuition. You saved my career, my life. I've been looking for a way to pay that forward. This is it. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Let me talk to Daniel first. I want to meet him. Make sure he's serious about this. If I'm going to help, I need to know he's willing to do the work. 2 days later, Catherine Park came to Marcus's apartment. Daniel and Maria were already there, nervous and confused about why a famous concert pianist wanted to meet them. Catherine walked in wearing jeans and a simple sweater. No makeup, hair in a ponytail. She looked normal, human, not like a celebrity. Hi, she said, shaking Daniel's hand. I'm Catherine. I saw your video. You're really good. Thank you, Daniel mumbled, starstruck. I want to help you. But first I need to know something. Why do you play piano? Daniel thought about the question. It was the same question his mother had asked him. Because it's the only time I feel like myself. Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Not for fame? Not for money? No, I mean those things would be nice. But that's not why I play, Catherine smiled. Good answer. Because fame is temporary and money is complicated. But music is forever. If you're doing it for the right reasons, you'll survive all the hard parts. She sat down on Marcus's couch. Maria sat next to her, still nervous. Here's what I'm offering, Catherine said. I'll be your mentor. I'll teach you. I'll use my connections to get you opportunities. I'll help you navigate the music world. I'll even help with the legal stuff with Victoria Whitmore. I have lawyers, good ones. They can handle her. Maria's eyes filled with tears. Why would you do this for us? Catherine's face became serious. Because I was you. Not exactly the same situation, but close. I grew up in a small apartment in Flushing, Queens. My parents worked 16-hour days in a nail salon. We had no money, but I loved piano. I taught myself by sneaking into a church after school to practice on their old piano. A janitor caught me one day. Instead of kicking me out, he gave me a key. Said I could practice whenever I wanted. That one act of kindness changed my life. That's beautiful, Maria whispered. Years later, when I was applying to conservatories, I hit a wall. Just like Daniel is hitting now. No formal training. No connections, no money. I was ready to give up. Then Marcus and some other teachers stepped in. They paid for my education. They believed in me when nobody else did. Now I'm at a place where I can do the same for someone else. She turned to Daniel. But I need to be clear about something. If I help you, you're going to work harder than you've ever worked in your life. I'm not going to go easy on you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to demand excellence, because that's what it takes to succeed in this world. Natural talent will only get you so far. You need discipline, dedication, sacrifice. Are you ready for that? Daniel didn't hesitate. Yes. You'll practice 6 hours a day. Every day. No excuses. Okay. You'll learn music theory, history, performance practice, all the academic stuff that's boring but necessary. I can do that. You'll compete. You'll perform. You'll put yourself out there and risk rejection and failure over and over again. I'm ready. Catherine studied his face. She saw something there. Something she recognized. The hunger. The determination. The same fire she had when she was his age. Okay, she said. Then we start tomorrow. Come to my home studio. We'll work for 3 hours after school, every weekday, plus 4 hours on Saturdays. Can you commit to that? What about my job at the grocery store? Daniel asked. I work 4 nights a week. Catherine looked at Maria. How much does he make? About $400 a month. Catherine pulled out her phone and made a quick calculation. I'll pay him $400 a month. He quits the grocery store. His job now is practicing piano. Deal? Maria started crying, real sobbing. Daniel stared in shock. You don't have to do that, Maria said through tears. Yes, I do. If Daniel is going to catch up to kids who've been training their whole lives, he needs time. He can't do that while working at a grocery store. Consider it a scholarship, an investment in his future. They talked for another hour. Catherine explained her plan. She would train Daniel personally. She would use her connections to get him into competitions and performances. She would help him build a portfolio that would be impossible for conservatories to ignore, and she would handle Victoria Whitmore. "Leave the legal stuff to me," Catherine said. "Victoria thinks she can bully you because you're poor and powerless. But I'm not poor, and I'm definitely not powerless. I'll make some calls, post something on social media. Trust me, she'll back off." That night, Catherine went home and posted on Instagram. She had 2.3 million followers. Her post was simple but powerful. "I just met an incredible young pianist named Daniel Santos. Many of you saw his viral video. What you didn't see is that he taught himself piano on a broken keyboard in a basement apartment. What you didn't see is that he works at a grocery store to help his single mother pay rent. What you didn't see is that he's being legally threatened by a billionaire for having the nerve to be talented while poor. This ends now. I'm taking Daniel under my wing. I'm going to help him achieve his dreams. And if anyone tries to stop him, they'll have to go through me first." The post got 500,000 likes in 2 hours. Comments poured in from celebrities, musicians, and regular people. The classical music world rallied around Daniel. Other famous pianists shared the post. Conductors offered support. Music schools started reaching out directly. And Victoria Whitmore's lawyers went silent. By morning, Victoria's PR team was in full panic mode. Catherine Park was too famous, too respected, too powerful to fight. Going after Daniel now would be career suicide for Victoria. Victoria had to admit defeat. She released another public statement. "I've decided to drop any legal concerns regarding the video. I support young talented musicians and wish Daniel Santos all the best in his musical education." It was a hollow statement. Everyone knew she was forced into it. But it worked. The legal threat was over. When Maria got the news, she collapsed on her couch in relief. Daniel hugged her tight. They had been saved. By a stranger, by someone who understood what it meant to fight for your dreams against impossible odds. "We're going to be okay, Mom," Daniel said. "Yes," Maria whispered. "Yes, we are." Daniel's alarm went off at 5 in the morning. He groaned and reached for his phone to turn it off. For a moment, he wanted to go back to sleep. But then he remembered. Today was the day. The audition that would change everything. He got out of bed and splashed cold water on his face. In the mirror, he looked at himself. Dark circles under his eyes. He had barely slept. Too nervous. Too anxious. Too scared. 3 weeks. That's all the time Catherine had given him to prepare for this audition. 3 weeks to get ready for something most kids spent their entire lives preparing for. 3 weeks to prove he deserved a full scholarship to one of the most prestigious conservatories in the country. It seemed impossible, and maybe it was, but he had to try. The past 3 weeks had been the hardest of Daniel's life. He had practiced 12 hours a day, sometimes more. His fingers bled from playing so much. His back ached from sitting at the piano. His eyes burned from reading music theory books late into the night. Catherine had not been easy on him. She pushed him harder than anyone ever had. When he made mistakes, she made him repeat passages 50 times. When he complained about being tired, she told him about the nights she practiced until her fingers cramped and bled. When he said something was too hard, she said good, and made him do it anyway. But she also taught him more in 3 weeks than he had learned in 8 years of teaching himself. She taught him how to use his whole body to create sound, how to breathe with the music, how to tell a story with every phrase. She taught him that technique wasn't just about playing the notes correctly. It was about making the piano sing. Marcus helped too. Every morning before school, Daniel went to Marcus's apartment for music theory. They studied harmony, counterpoint, composition, all the academic knowledge he would need. Marcus was patient and kind, but also demanding. "You're playing catch-up," Marcus reminded him. "You need to learn in months what most students learn over years." Maria watched her son transform. He barely ate. He barely slept. He practiced until his hands shook and his vision blurred. Sometimes she found him asleep at the keyboard, his face pressed against the keys. It scared her. But when she suggested he rest more, he refused. "I can't rest, Mom, not now. This is my one chance. If I don't make it, I might never get another shot. You're 16. You'll have other chances." "No, I won't. Kids who get into places like this start training when they're 5. They have every advantage, money, teachers, time. I have none of that. This audition is a miracle. Catherine made it happen. But if I fail, nobody will give me another chance. They'll say I was just a viral sensation, a one-time thing. I have to prove them wrong. The audition was at the Manhattan Conservatory of Music. It wasn't as famous as Juilliard or Curtis, but it was still elite. Getting in was extremely hard. The acceptance rate was around 8%, and getting a full scholarship was even harder. Catherine had pulled strings to get Daniel this audition. The conservatory's dean owed her a favor. She had performed at their annual gala for free 2 years ago, so when Catherine called and said she had a special student who needed an emergency audition, the dean agreed to see him. But the dean was clear. This wasn't a guaranteed spot. Daniel would have to earn it. He would audition the same way every other applicant did. If he was good enough, he would get the scholarship. If not, he would be rejected like thousands of other kids. That morning, Maria made Daniel breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, orange juice. He picked at the food, too nervous to eat. "You need to eat," Maria said. "You need energy." "I can't, my stomach is in knots. Just try, please." Daniel forced down a few bites. It tasted like cardboard. Everything felt unreal. Like he was in a dream, or maybe a nightmare. Catherine arrived at 8 to drive them to the conservatory. She looked calm and professional in a dark blue dress. She smiled at Daniel, trying to project confidence. But even she was nervous. She believed in Daniel's talent, but she also knew how brutal these auditions could be. One mistake could end everything. "Ready?" she asked. "No," Daniel said honestly, "but I guess it doesn't matter. It'll be okay. Just remember what we practiced. Play from your heart. Don't overthink the technical stuff. Let the music flow through you." They drove through Manhattan in Catherine's expensive car. Maria sat in the back, holding her rosary and praying silently. Daniel stared out the window, watching the city pass by. Tall buildings, crowded streets, people rushing to work, normal life continuing while his whole future hung in the balance. The Manhattan Conservatory of Music was in the Upper West Side, a beautiful old building with stone columns and tall windows. Students walked in and out carrying instrument cases. They looked confident, privileged, like they belonged there. Daniel felt like an imposter. They walked inside. The lobby was elegant. Marble floors, high ceilings, portraits of famous musicians on the walls. A receptionist sat behind a large desk. "Daniel Santos," Catherine said. "He has an audition at 9. The receptionist checked her computer. "Yes, I see him. You can wait in the lounge. Someone will call you when they're ready." The waiting room was full of other students auditioning. Daniel looked around. They were all well-dressed. Designer clothes. Expensive haircuts. Some had parents with them who looked rich and successful. One girl sat in the corner doing breathing exercises. A boy practiced fingering patterns in the air, his hands moving silently. Daniel felt his panic rising. These kids looked like professionals, like they had been training for this their entire lives, and they probably had. Catherine squeezed his shoulder. "Don't compare yourself to them. You're on your own journey. Focus on your music. Nothing else matters." They waited for 45 minutes. Each minute felt like an hour. Daniel watched as other students were called in one by one. Some came out looking confident. Others came out crying. One boy stormed past them looking angry, his father following behind trying to calm him down. Finally, a woman in a black suit appeared. "Daniel Santos?" Daniel stood up. His legs felt weak. Catherine and Maria stood with him. "Only the student can come into the audition room," the woman said. "Family can wait here." Maria grabbed Daniel's hand. "You can do this, mijo. I believe in you." Catherine hugged him. "Remember, play from your heart. That's what makes you special." Daniel nodded. He couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. He followed the woman down a long hallway. Their footsteps echoed on the marble floor. She stopped at a large wooden door and opened it. "Good luck," she said. Daniel walked into the audition room. It was huge. A concert hall, really. Rows of empty seats faced a stage. On the stage sat a beautiful grand piano. And in the front row sat 3 people. 2 men and 1 woman. The judges. They held clipboards and pens. Their faces showed no emotion. The woman in the middle spoke. "Daniel Santos, welcome. I'm Professor Elena Rodriguez, Dean of Piano Studies. This is Professor James Mitchell and Professor David Kim. We'll be evaluating your audition today. Hello, Daniel managed to say. His voice sounded small in the huge room. You may take a moment to familiarize yourself with the instrument. Then we'd like you to perform 2 pieces. First, your prepared classical piece, then an original composition. You'll have 30 minutes total. Do you have any questions? No, ma'am. You may begin when ready. Daniel walked onto the stage. The piano looked enormous, intimidating. He sat on the bench and adjusted the height. He put his hands on the keys. They felt cold. He took a deep breath. Then another. He needed to calm down. His heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. He thought about why he played music. Not for these judges. Not for a scholarship. Not even for his mother. He played because it was who he was. Because music was the only language that made sense to him. He closed his eyes and started to play. The classical piece Catherine had chosen for him was Chopin's Ballade No. 1. It was incredibly difficult. Most pianists spent years perfecting it. Daniel had 3 weeks. But Catherine had chosen it because it required emotional depth more than technical perfection. And emotion was Daniel's strength. His fingers moved across the keys. The opening was soft and delicate. A simple melody that sounded almost like a question. Then it built. Grew more complex. His left hand played rolling chords while his right hand danced in the upper register. Daniel forgot about the judges. Forgot about the audition. He was just playing music. Telling a story. The story of struggle and beauty. Of darkness and light. Of dreams that seemed impossible but maybe, just maybe, could come true. The piece required incredible technical skill. Fast runs, wide jumps. Complex rhythms. Daniel's fingers flew across the keys. Some passages weren't perfect. A few notes were slightly off. His technique wasn't as polished as someone who had trained for years. But there was something else there. Something that technique alone couldn't create. Soul. The music built to a dramatic climax. Daniel's whole body moved with the sound. His hands crashed down on the keys with power and emotion. Then suddenly it became soft again, gentle. The ending was quiet and peaceful, like after a storm. The final note faded into silence. Daniel opened his eyes. He had forgotten where he was. For a moment he felt disoriented. Then he remembered. The audition. The judges. He looked at them. They were writing notes on their clipboards. Their faces still showed no emotion. He couldn't tell if they liked it or hated it. Professor Rodriguez spoke. He walked off the stage and out of the audition room. In the hallway, his legs almost gave out. He leaned against the wall, breathing hard. He had done it. It was over. For better or worse, he had given everything he had. When he returned to the waiting room, Maria rushed to him. How was it? I don't know. I think I did okay. Maybe. I can't tell. Catherine studied his face. She could see the exhaustion, the emotional drain. You gave it everything, didn't you? Yes. Then that's all you can do. Now we wait. They drove home in silence. Daniel stared out the window again, replaying every moment of the audition in his head. Had he made mistakes? Probably. Were there parts he could have played better? Definitely. Would it be enough? He had no idea. The next week was torture. Every day felt like a year. Daniel tried to practice, but he couldn't focus. He tried to go to school, but he couldn't concentrate. He just waited. And worried. And hoped. Maria tried to stay positive. Whatever happens, we'll be okay. You tried your best. That's what matters. But Daniel knew it wasn't just about trying. It was about results. If he didn't get this scholarship, what would he do? Go back to working at the grocery store? Give up on music? He couldn't imagine that. Music was all he had. All he was. Catherine called every day to check on him. Stop worrying. There's nothing you can do now. Just breathe. Wait. Trust the process. But trusting was hard when your whole future depended on 3 strangers deciding if you were good enough. 6 days after the audition, Daniel got a call. Unknown number. His heart stopped. Hello? Daniel Santos? This is Professor Elena Rodriguez from Manhattan Conservatory of Music. Daniel couldn't breathe. Yes, hello. I'm calling with news about your audition. Can you talk now? Yes, please. There was a pause. A long, horrible pause. Then Professor Rodriguez spoke. Congratulations, Daniel. We'd like to offer you full acceptance to our piano performance program, with a complete scholarship, tuition, room and board, everything covered. We were unanimous in our decision. What you showed us was remarkable. Daniel dropped his phone. He heard Professor Rodriguez's voice calling his name from the floor. He picked it up with shaking hands. I got in? Really? Really, your technique needs work. Your music theory knowledge has gaps. You have a lot to learn. But Daniel, what you have, that emotional depth, that natural musicality, that can't be taught. We can teach you the rest. But we can't teach heart, and you have more heart than most pianists we see in a decade. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll join us in September. Yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Professor Rodriguez laughed. Good. You'll receive the official paperwork in the mail. Welcome to Manhattan Conservatory, Daniel. I think you're going to do great things. After the call ended, Daniel screamed. Just screamed with joy and relief and overwhelming emotion. Maria came running from the kitchen, terrified something was wrong. What happened? Are you okay? I got in, Mom, I got in. Full scholarship. Everything paid for. Maria screamed too. They hugged and cried and laughed. All the stress and fear and worry of the past months came pouring out. They had made it. Against all odds, they had actually made it. Daniel called Catherine immediately. She answered on the first ring. Well, I got in. Full scholarship. Catherine screamed so loud Daniel had to hold the phone away from his ear. I knew it. I knew they'd see what I see. Daniel, I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you. Yes, you could have. You have the talent. I just helped you show it. Now the real work begins. Conservatory is going to be hard. Really hard. But you're ready. I know you are. The news spread quickly. Marcus called, crying with happiness. Catherine posted on Instagram, and the congratulations poured in from around the world. The viral video kid had done it. He had proven he wasn't just a one-time sensation. He was real. He was legitimate. He was going to be something special. That evening, there was a knock on their apartment door. Maria opened it cautiously. A delivery man stood there holding an enormous bouquet of flowers. Delivery for Daniel Santos. Maria took the flowers, confused. The card read, "Congratulations on your acceptance. Wishing you all the best in your musical journey. Victoria Whitmore." Daniel looked at the card and laughed. A bitter laugh. Now she congratulates me. After everything. At least she acknowledged it, Maria said. I don't want her flowers. I know. But take them anyway. Let it be a reminder of how far you've come. She dismissed you. She tried to intimidate us. She did everything wrong. And you won anyway. That's the real victory. Daniel thought about that. His mother was right. Victoria's flowers weren't an apology. They were a PR move, one last attempt to be on the right side of the story. But it didn't matter anymore. Victoria Whitmore was just a footnote in his story now. A small obstacle he had overcome. The real heroes were Marcus and Catherine. The ones who saw his potential and fought for him. The ones who believed in him when nobody else did. 6 months later, Daniel started at Manhattan Conservatory. It was everything he dreamed and more. Beautiful practice rooms, world-class teachers, other students who loved music as much as he did. It was hard. Harder than anything he'd experienced. The academic work was intense. The competition was fierce. Other students had been training their whole lives and catching up wasn't easy. But Daniel worked harder than everyone. He practiced 6 hours a day, every day. He studied music theory late into the night. He performed in student recitals. He competed in competitions. Some he won, some he lost. But he kept going, kept improving, kept growing. His first public recital was in March, a small concert hall on campus. About 200 seats. Maria sat in the front row wearing her best dress. Catherine sat next to her. Marcus sat on the other side. They all came to support him. Daniel walked onto the stage in a suit Catherine had bought him. He looked like a real pianist now, professional, confident. He sat at the piano and looked out at the small crowd. And there, in the very back row, sitting alone, was Victoria Whitmore. Daniel's heart skipped. He hadn't seen her since that night at her party. He hadn't expected her to come. Part of him wanted to be angry, but another part of him felt something else. Pity, maybe. She looked uncomfortable, out of place, like she knew she didn't belong there. Daniel turned back to the piano. He didn't play for her. He played for himself, for his mother, for the people who believed in him, for every kid who ever felt invisible, who ever dreamed impossible dreams. He played his heart out. The performance lasted 45 minutes. 3 pieces, 2 classical, 1 original. When the final note faded, the audience exploded with applause. People stood up, cheered. Maria was crying. Catherine was clapping so hard her hands must have hurt. Marcus beamed with pride. After the performance, people crowded around Daniel. Other students, professors, music journalists, everyone wanted to talk to him, congratulate him, tell him how moved they were. Victoria approached from the back. She waited until the crowd thinned. Then she walked up to Daniel. "That was beautiful," she said quietly. "Thank you. I wanted to apologize for how I treated you, for not seeing what was right in front of me, for making everything difficult for you and your mother. I was wrong." Daniel looked at her. Really looked at her. She looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. Just a person who had made mistakes. "I appreciate that," Daniel said. "But to be honest, I'm glad things happened the way they did. If you had helped me right away, I might never have met Catherine and Marcus. I might never have learned what it means to really work for something. So maybe everything happened exactly the way it was supposed to." Victoria nodded slowly. "Maybe you're right. Still, I'm sorry. And I wanted you to know. I'm proud of you. I know I have no right to be. But I am." She walked away before Daniel could respond. He watched her leave the concert hall alone, disappearing into the night. Maria came up and hugged him. "You were magnificent, mijo." "Thanks, Mom. How do you feel?" Daniel thought about the question. How did he feel? Tired, excited, grateful, overwhelmed, happy. "I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," he said. And he was. The journey wasn't over. He still had years of training ahead. Years of competitions and performances and rejection and success. The road would be hard. But he wasn't afraid anymore. Because he had learned the most important lesson of all. Talent wasn't enough. Luck wasn't enough. Even hard work wasn't enough. What mattered was having people who believed in you. People who fought for you. People who saw your potential and refused to let you give up. He had found those people. And with them by his side, anything was possible. Even impossible dreams could come true. Daniel Santos was going to be great. Not because a billionaire noticed him. Not because a video went viral. But because he had the courage to keep playing, even when the whole world seemed to be against him. That was the real story. And it was only the beginning.